Every day, people smile when they don't mean it. They agree when they want to refuse. They apologize for taking up space in rooms they earn the right to be in. They were taught that this is a virtue. They were told this is what a good person looks like. They were taught that this is a virtue. They were told this is what a good person looks like. But what they were really taught is how to disappear without making noise. Niceness was sold as morality, but it's really fear in disguise. It's fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being disliked. So people trade truth for comfort, dignity for approval, and power for acceptance. And little by little, their identity fades. Welcome everyone to the Scurv podcast. I'm your host, Scurv. And today's segment is titled, Stop Being Nice. The psychology of respect and power. This is why so many men feel invisible in their own lives. Not because they lack value, but because they never claim it. They give it away daily through silence, compliance, and self-erasure. They choose peace over respect and comfort over authority. The world does not reward this behavior. It exploits it. It consumes it. It benefits from it. And then it forgets it. Because what is always available is never valued. The shift begins when a man understands one simple truth. Approval makes you a servant, but respect makes you untouchable. From that moment on, life becomes a different game. There is a difference between being liked and being respected. Being liked makes you safe. Being respected makes you powerful. Approval turns you into someone who waits for permission. Respect turns you into someone who sets the terms. One makes you adjustable, the other makes you immovable. People who chase approval live in reaction. They shape themselves around other people's emotions. They negotiate their identity. They dilute their standards. They silence their instincts. They become easy to control because their behavior depends on external validation. Respect changes the structure of every interaction. When people respect you, they adjust to you. They measure themselves against your standards. They become careful with your time. They become aware of your boundaries. Respect creates gravity. This is why niceness fails. Niceness removes tension. It removes resistance. It removes friction. And without friction, nothing holds shape. Nothing holds form. Nothing holds value. When a man stops chasing approval, he stops shrinking. He stops negotiating his presence. He stops explaining his worth. He starts moving as someone who already belongs. The world does not run on fairness. It runs on power and perception. People follow strength. They trust certainty. They respond to clarity. They respect presence. Fear is not about cruelty. It's about consequence. It's about knowing that crossing a line costs something. Love fades with convenience. Loyalty weakens under pressure. But consequences create structure. Power is not violence. It's stability. It's consistency. It's the ability to enforce reality. Power shapes behavior. Power shapes outcome. Power shapes hierarchy. Morality without power is only theory. It sounds good, but it changes nothing. I've learned this. Power turns belief into structure and values into reality. This is why the man who commands respect controls his environment without raising his voice. His presence alone sets the tone. The nice man stays silent when his ideas are stolen. He absorbs disrespect to avoid conflict. He tolerates boundary violations to preserve connection. He accepts imbalance to avoid loss. And every time he does this, he teaches people how to treat him. He teaches them that his time is flexible. His feelings are negotiable. His value is optional. People do not value what comes easily. They value what requires effort, respect, and intention. Constant availability kills attraction. Constant accommodation kills authority. When someone becomes too accessible, they become invisible. Present but unnoticed. Useful but replaceable. Scarcity creates value. Selectivity creates respect. Standards create gravity. Reality is perception. Identity is perception. Authority is perception. Power exists where belief exists. People do not read intentions. They read signals. They read posture, tone, behavior, boundaries, and presence. Weak signals create weak treatment. Strong signals create strong positioning. Outcome independence changes everything. When a man does not need anyone, his value rises. When he can walk away, his leverage increases. When he is whole on his own, people adjust to him. This is not coldness. It's completeness. It's self-sufficiency. It's internal stability. Silence is power. Over-explaining is weakness. Constant talking reveals insecurity. Immediate reactions reveal dependence. Silence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates focus. Focus creates control. When a man is comfortable with silence, he controls the emotional frame. He lets others reveal themselves. He lets pressure shift. Words gain value when they are rare. Presence gains weight when it is not constant. The man who speaks less is heard more. Boundaries without consequences are illusions. They are wishes, not rules. Real boundaries are enforced. They are calm. They are consistent. They are non-negotiable. People respect boundaries because they cost something to cross. A man with standards does not argue. He adjusts access. He removes proximity. He changes availability. Boundaries define identity. They draw the line between respect and loss. Every relationship runs on leverage. Always. Leverage is value. Leverage is options. Leverage is independence. People treat you based on how replaceable you are. Remember that. When you give everything freely, you become disposable. When your value is controlled, it becomes respected. Leverage creates calm. Options create confidence. Independence creates power. Power is built through action, not thought. Every interaction trains people how to treat you. Comfort keeps you weak. Discomfort builds authority. The calculated move is choosing long-term respect over short-term peace. It is consistency over emotion, structure over reaction, strategy over impulse. The shift filters your life. Users leave, takers disappear, drainers fade. What a wonderful place to be. Quality replaces quantity. Respect replaces tolerance. Peace replaces anxiety. Self-respect creates attraction. Standards create stability. Power creates calm. You stop managing emotions and start managing structure. You stop surviving and start governing your life. Power is not given, it's taken. Respect is not requested, it is enforced. Value is not explained, it's demonstrated. The choice is simple: comfort or power, approval or respect, safety or authority. The man who chooses power becomes untouchable. It's something when you think about it. We have so many people in this world who talk a good game, but they're really not about drawing that line of respect, enforcing it, and having true power. It starts from within. It's how you see yourself. And how you see yourself, I've figured out, really is how you were raised from young. And it's hard for most people to get away from that. The way they were treated as a child, how they saw themselves as a child, what they accepted as a child. When you really look at it, look at the people in your life that you've known from their childhood. It could be siblings. You could be an older adult who watched somebody grow up. And if they act unruly, if they act too soft, whatever way they act, you can trace it back to their childhood. So when you have children, be careful how you treat them. Handle them with care and put the right things in them, and lead by example. When you see affluent people who are wealthy, who have lots of money, that they don't squander. They respect the power of their money, but they also respect the power of being educated. Not just on frivolous facts and history, which is very important, but how to operate in the world today. See, the majority of us were taught in schools that program us to be workers, servants, subservient. But the people in power train their kids, their children, to expect the power, to cultivate the power. So not only were they trained to respect the power, but they know their position in life because they were taught to be different. Now, very few of us had that upbringing. But if you really look at it, I remember going to North Country School, Camp Treetops, in the Adirondacks in upstate New York, just a stone's throw from Canada. That was 1974 and 1975. And here I am as a child from 11 years old in 74 and 12 years old in 75. This was a summer camp of 7 weeks, July through August, where many affluent children went. I told this positioning before, but I'll explain it like this. My father had a client who had 2 sons, and his client was a world-renowned architect. Paul Friedberg was his name. I'm quite sure he's not with us anymore. He was the one who constructed the structures for the Chinese Olympics. But at this point, he wasn't there yet. He was already very affluent. And so he arranged it where I can go to this camp where many of these, not just rich kids, very few of the rich kids, they were wealthy. To pull one name out of the hat, there was one name, Michael Rockefeller. So, not that I'm honoring the worldly hierarchy, I'm just telling you what type of place it was. And my father didn't have to pay anything. He just arranged this. So for 7 weeks at 11 years old, I had the opportunity to get around younger individuals my age who thought completely different, who were being groomed for the future to be the rulers and to have power. There was one who was in my lean-to, that's what they called it, a wooden structure. It wasn't a tent, but it was a wooden structure that had canvas over it. And there were 4 beds there, 2 bunks. I remember the name of one of the boys there named Bundy. I remember one of the other ones I don't remember vaguely, but I do remember one of the other quiet kids, and he was from Canada. His name was Brian Bronfman. And I Googled the name recently, come to find out he's a billionaire. And his parents and his whole bloodline were in position from millions to billions. And he's now a philanthropist. And he's living a completely different life. Our lives intersected. But overhearing the conversations and even conversing with these young guys, I quickly learned a different way of thinking and a different way of seeing the world. There was also 2 brothers. I remember their names. I tried Googling them, but I couldn't find anything. George and Brian Lansbury. And I believe their parents or their father was in the movie industry in some capacity. So names come to me a lot. There were several hundred children in this camp, separated into 2 separate spaces of the ages that we were, 11 and 12. There were 45 horses on this camp, a huge barn that housed all of the horses. Acres and acres and acres. This wasn't some summer camp in a building somewhere where they had 10 or 15 people. This was huge. There were several mountains on the property. Now, the Adirondack mountain range has 49 mountains that are over 1 mile tall in height, elevation. I hiked 11 of them. And there were others I didn't get a chance to hike. They always had daily trips going out, different things to do. They had their own special buildings there, the kitchen area, which was huge because when we had breakfast, there was so many of us there. It was co-ed, although the boys were separated from the girls after hours. So in the morning time, we'd wake up very early, and they had what they called council. And council was where we all gathered around, and you had different counselors that were there, and they would discuss what the activities were for the day. It may be gardening. You had a woman there who knew everything about plant life, and she conducted classes every day for those who were interested. They would go on nature walks, very interesting. They had hiking. They had trips off of the camp. They had sports on the camp. And if you didn't want to do anything, you can go and just wander about on the property, which was huge. For every lean-to, there was a counselor. And so there were many, many lean-tos dotting the landscape. There was a huge lake right there on the property. There was so much to do. We had chores. We had things we had to do to maintain the place. I remember nobody wanted to do barn chores. We had a thing called the honey wagon. And this was a huge iron trough that was suspended from the ceiling on a track that you can push, and it would go behind the stall of every horse. And guess what? You had to shovel the excrement of the horse into that trough. You didn't always have to do it because they changed chores, I believe, every week. You had minor things, fun things to do, maintenance things to do that for a certain time early on, unless you were going out on a trip, you had to do every single day. The discipline wasn't a problem for me, but overhearing the conversations, and it taught me from young that it's a huge world out here, because many of them didn't realize the level they were on as they spoke about the summer home that their parents had in Europe, the trips around the world that were frequent. And when Christmas time came, they would travel here and there with their family. Money wasn't an issue, and they were speaking about the money that they were to inherit or that would be passed down at a certain time for the family fortune. This was quite an eye-opener for me. So when I see people try to flex on such lowly terms, ghettofied, ignorant, low level, you have a man who goes out and purchases a Mercedes Benz, and he's driving up and down the neighborhood like he owns the world. It's in your head. But is that true power? I'm just using that for an example, and I'm not angry at anybody who drives a Mercedes Benz. I'm never jealous of anybody's debt, number one. But what I'm saying is the mindset of people. And the majority of people out here, their mindset truly needs an upgrade. Not that you have to aspire for monetary wealth, to have summer homes across the world, or to be a philanthropist and have billions of dollars while people apply and you deem them worthy or not for the money that they donate to you. Doesn't mean that. But just to be aware that whatever level you're on, when you think that you can walk with your butt on the shoulders because you're so superior, understand there are people who can chew you up and spit you out if you are thinking on such a worldly level, a carnal level. Very humbling. So by me knowing this from young, I could never try to flex on someone like I'm superior to them. No. Because I know the level I'm on, yet I feel no less than those who have so much more. And so I look at people today They have a couple of followers on social media. They may have the good graces of working a good job and get a good paycheck. They might even make 6 figures. But I know of someone who gives millions away, gives. So that makes me realize reality. Am I going to take my life and strive to try to outdo somebody or try to impress somebody? For what? Let me work on the internal characteristics. Let me work on sharpening my discernment so I can cut through life like a hot knife through butter. These are the things that interest me. Not playing games with other people who are insecure. I am not insecure, never have been, and never will be. I'm very confident in who I am because I know who I am. The problem is most people don't. And their grab for this temporary, futile display of power does nothing because it hasn't changed you on the inside. See, when you're powerful, you walk a different way. You don't have to be a chatterbox to dominate a conversation to act like you have power. You can be silent and change the vibration of a room when you enter it. That's the kind of mentality I have. I was taught to value myself from very young, up until this day, regardless as to how people may think of me. Because that's my last concern. You should never worry or concern yourself with how people think of you. The naysayers shouldn't be that way. You got to stand strong in who you are and what you are and the power, the true power that you have from mastering yourself. And then everything around you will be flotsam and jetsam, dust blowing in the wind with their trivial thoughts on the paper-thin power that they think they have. I've learned this from young. And my knowledge of this, and my awareness of this goes real deep. So deep that really I have nothing to prove. Nothing at all. I don't play that game. Because when you have true power, you don't have to flex. You know what you have in your heart, and you know what you have in your brain. You have nothing to prove when you have true power. So that being said, I hope these words have stimulated you. And as we move on into the higher levels of existence, I do hope and pray that you find yourself better tomorrow than you are today. And never stop seeking truth during this journey, because there's so many distractions out in the world that will take you away from elevating. The manipulation, the influences, the things that are not good for you. So be careful and take your time and make the right choices. Anyway, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm going to move on to the next thing and continue to create. And I look forward to spending time with you again. Scurv out. On to the next one. As always, I wish you peace.